Welcome to the Running Tales podcast, where I, Craig Lewis, and my wife, Michelle, talk to runners who've achieved extraordinary things. This week, we've got something slightly different for you. We've been talking to a number of ultra runners in recent weeks, so I thought it was worth digging into our archives to try and find out what makes this very particular type of runner tick. This episode features Deon Elhers, who's completed the grueling Comrades ultramarathon multiple times, Benjamin Davies, who overcame personal tragedy and a turbulent childhood to find ultra running and recently completed the 149-mile Grand Union Canal Ultra, and Martin Lopez, who in the last 18 months has transformed from COVID-19 intensive care patient to having completed 5 ultras. It also uses insights from 3 runners who put their bodies on the line to complete incredible challenges. Menna Evans ran from the tip of New Zealand's North Island to the depths of its south one in just 35 days and 27 minutes, a Guinness World Record. In 2014, Emma Timmins became the first person to run across Africa, completing the equivalent of 94 marathons in 89 days. And Brendon Rendall has completed endurance challenges, including his own run across Africa. We look into how they got into ultra running, their achievements, and what makes this extreme sport so special for them.
I'm kind of fat kid from school. Like, school days were like really tough. A lot of home issues and whatnot growing up. There's a lot of difficulties that side of things that just led to like huge obesity and like being bullied and whatnot through school. So I was never a sporty kid at all. Like, I was the one that was fake signing my mum's signature on a note to get out of PE and whatnot. But yeah, it kind of built up to a couple of years ago. And my niece passed away. My sister's little girl. She passed away at 18 months old. She was born with a few complications and whatnot around her bowels and her liver and that. But yeah, she passed away, and I was in a real bad place, like mentally. I've never been like that ever before. I just couldn't get out of it. I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and I was training. I was trying to do everything I could, and I just couldn't get out of this funk that I was in. I just started Googling ultra marathons and big ultra marathons in the UK, and I found the Grand Union Ultra, and I was like, man, that sounds really good. Like, that's the kind of running that I want to do. Like, I don't want to go fast. I don't want to go like, I'm not all about training and numbers and all that kind of stuff. And I was reading, and the more you read, the more you find the community to the ultra world, the more you start seeing that they're actually just kind of a different breed of runner.
Yeah.
They're just there to help each other out and get through and, kind of take themselves to different places.
That was the voice of Benjamin Davies explaining how he found ultra running. While Benjamin's love of long distance running provided a route to finding himself again and an opportunity to talk to like-minded people, Martin Lopez found the sport after coming face to face with coronavirus.
I caught COVID in sort of late September 2020. Had a week at home, feeling like pretty ill, really ill. And then on the 6th or 7th day, my wife called the ambulance out because I was just, my temperature was so high I couldn't breathe. I was really, really struggling. They took me in straight away. Spent one night on the sort of normal ward, feeling loads better because they gave me oxygen and lots of drugs, and I started eating because I hadn't eaten a thing all week, and I'm someone that definitely never loses their appetite, and so that was probably the biggest red flag for my wife in terms of how poorly I was. And then they kept talking about intensive care, and I was like, what are you talking about? This is the best I've felt for a week. I'm eating, I'm fine. And I think their concern was I was on the maximum oxygen and the most drugs they could give me, and I wasn't responding. I'd plateaued and I wasn't getting any worse, but it was still my oxygen levels. The oxygen in your blood the oxygen in my blood was pretty low, and they were really concerned about it, and it wasn't improving. And then in the middle of the night, after I think so, I got there, I'd been maybe 28, 29 hours. In the middle of the night, I got whisked off to intensive care, which is where I had that big mask on that's on the photo there. And I spent about 4 nights in intensive care. A pretty desolate place at the time. I was the only one that was conscious of about 14, 15 people on the ward. Everyone else was in a respirator. And while I was on there, I was in the ward with people that had all got all different types of illness, but were COVID positive, because that's how the hospitals worked at the time. So it was generally older gents that I was in there with. But I'm 39. There was a couple of early 50s, and then a couple of much older gents, and it just this is going to sound like morbid, but it gave me an awareness that how I was feeling now, this sort of, very ill, how I had been feeling, this very ill, really, how is this going to go kind of feeling, is going to come to me in the end at some point. Like age is obviously inevitable, aging is inevitable. And when that happens, there'll be sort of different moments in my life that, it might be, I don't curse myself with anything, but I'll get an illness at some point, like we all will when we're older, and then be in hospital. And I just saw the different people around me, how it looked as though they'd looked after themselves or not throughout their life. And I saw how well they were responding to any kind of treatment. Yeah. And their outlook on things just seemed different. And the major thing is that the most important thing to me is my family, like my wife and my 2 boys. And I could see those that were struggling badly, the strain it was having on their loved ones, just through like FaceTime and phone calls, because there was no visitors. It was just, that's all it was. And I just really thought that this is really selfish, because obviously they were in a real tough situation. I really don't want to be a burden on my family like this person is, because they're struggling so badly. So I just thought, I'm just going to be as healthy as I possibly can be, so that when those moments come, the first few will be sort of like little jabs that I can roll with and move on to the next one, and you know what I mean, and just be better and stronger for longer, I suppose. And then January, it just kind of took off. I don't know whether I did, because obviously the red January is now a thing, and I don't know whether it was then or not, but I probably did run nearly every day in that January. I did a couple of things which helped. I set myself a target of doing a 4-hour marathon that year, and like my New Year's resolution kind of thing. I then set up a Strava group for my work. So I work for a big education trust, Invictus Education Trust, and we've got 6 schools, probably about 700 or 800 members of staff. So I just sent out an all staff email inviting everyone to this January, run/walking club, and that kind of did 2 things. It added a bit of accountability to sort of keep moving and get everyone moving a little bit, and be a bit of a community leader of that group. And it also just a bit of a competitiveness each week with different people that were, we sort of put a challenge out, so you could do the most each week, or do this or do that. And that month was crucial, really, because I went from the first couple of weeks still not really enjoying running, it being something that I was doing for a purpose. And then there was a couple of weeks and I had a bit of a light bulb moment with the sort of like the notion to just slow down and just enjoy the actual run while I'm running it, rather than just running as quick as I possibly can for as long as I can. And then that changed everything.
Menna Evans, Emma Timmins and Brendon Rendall had their own reasons for embracing extreme distances.
My dad sadly passed away in 2017. I decided to run the full length of Britain in his memory. So the summer of 2018, having only been running for just over a year, I did joggle John O'Groats to Land's End in his memory, and that was done in 37 days. And just as I came towards the end of that challenge, I was having the time of my life, and I thought, you know what, I need something else to go for now. So I thought, you know what, let's go for something bigger and harder and longer. And that's when I dreamt up New Zealand.
They played all these films of people doing adventurous stuff, and when it finished, we realised that it was all about men doing adventures. There was nothing about any women doing adventures, and there was even a movie about a dog doing an adventure.
Okay,
but,
Lassie.
I can't even remember what it was. It was something about this tiny little dog. I can't remember what it was. But, and you're like, wow, this is not a true representation. There are women out there doing stuff, and we're just not being shown. So the girl that I went to see that with, she didn't know about my South Africa run, and I told her about it, and she was like, wow, well, I'm involved with a charity in Zimbabwe. Would you be interested in doing a bigger run across the whole continent of Africa? If I do all the organisation, you just need to run it. And I was like, yeah. I mean,
wow.
Drank a bit of tequila by this point.
Sadly, for about 10 years, my life was a cycle of self-destructive behaviour. I got heavily into drugs, drink, and it was literally, I lived for every night we would be out. Everything's a bit of a blur. And then 2006, there was a group of people out at the end of 2005, and a couple of the people were doing a half marathon I'd never ran before. It was the Wilmslow half, so I had 3 months to train for it. And I got up in the morning in the dark in a hoodie so no one could see me. And I thought, right, let's give it 3 months and see what happens.
Brendan Rendall's entire life changed, and before he knew it, he was setting out on a journey that would take him firstly across Malawi and then the whole of Africa. Brendan's coast-to-coast journey in 2018 covered 4,000 kilometres, 92 marathons in as many days, raising thousands of pounds for vulnerable children in Malawi along the way.
2018, beginning of June, I ran out of the Atlantic Ocean in Namibia. Just insane. It was desert. It was 35-degree heat. There was no shade. I was camping. I was stripped of luxuries. I finished the marathon distance. I didn't have any showers or any luxuries, but that didn't matter because the sunrise and sunsets and the wildlife, it was just incredible. And then I went up through the Caprivi Strip and into Zambia. And then from Zambia, I went into Victoria Falls and then went over to Malawi. And then down into the charity where I raised 35,000 on my Malawi run, which helped finish the school. So we ran back into the school on my Africa run, and then through FOMO, and then I went into Mozambique, and then I ran into the Indian Oceans. So it was 2,474 miles, 98 days. 7 days I lost to illness, and so it was 91 running days. The most I ran in one day was 40 miles, and the most in 1 week was 220 miles, yeah. If you sort of grasp the idea that you're stripped of everything. So like running here, I could stop and think, I'm going to get to that newsagent's, I'm going to get a nice pint of cold drink or a Mars drink or whatever. But there you're literally stripped of everything. So it literally does push you to the absolute max, from the food to the drink. The children on the way to school, the locals, they would go 5-10 kilometers, and people that followed and have seen videos have seen sometimes I'd have 100-200 children running along with me. And I suppose it's like mindfulness in some ways. I just thought, do you know what? Engage the pain, engage whatever, because you're just so lucky to even be doing this, to be experiencing this.
Menna Evans' challenge took her from tip to toe of New Zealand, while Emma Timmins' incredible journey across Africa was a true one step at a time achievement.
I set off from the very top of New Zealand in Cape Reinga and started my run of the full length of New Zealand, both islands, North Island and South Island. And 35 days, 27 minutes later, I finished at the very bottom at Bluff, at the bottom of the South Island, and became a Guinness World Record holder for doing so, for fastest female to run the full length.
Break it all down, like it's just a series of 5 and 10k runs. It's not, if you don't look at it as being 2,500 kilometers, then it's not. It's just a series of small sections glued together. I actually started in the ocean with my little naked feet in the water and began running on the beach. That was pretty cool, like to actually be like, I'm in the ocean. This is the edge of the continent and I'm going to run all the way across.
Deon Elhers has completed one of the world's toughest ultras, South Africa's Comrades Marathon, 5 times, DNFing on another 2 occasions, once by the finest of margins. But running ultras wasn't something he set out to do.
I always said I'll never do a marathon or ultra marathon because I'm not mad.
Despite that, finishing the Comrades was a huge moment for Deon.
Nothing to describe it. It's just amazing experience. And that day, for instance, I tried to run every now and again, but I couldn't. And as I came into the stadium, I tried again. And for some reason, it felt like I just started. I think it's probably the adrenaline rush or something that pushed me. And I just started running and up to the finish line.
Ultra running isn't all plain sailing though, as Deon revealed when he told Running Tales how he'd failed to finish the Comrades by just seconds.
Sort of from almost the first cutoff, I already felt something was not going well, but I kept going, and eventually I just made the last cutoff, which is about 7 k's from the finish. I went through there, and at that stage, I had to do 8 minutes a kilometer to finish under 12 hours.
And what happened?
8 minutes kilometers. It's not that fast, but if you try
Tired.
8 minutes, it's difficult. And eventually, I managed to keep going and checking the time. I saw that I might not make it, and in the end, somehow, I don't know how I did it. The last kilometer, I did it in 5.5 minutes.
So you made up the time?
I made up the time, but not enough. I've missed the 12-hour cut with 33 seconds.
Oh no! So how many seconds?
33 seconds.
Oh, that is just so cruel. Because they start packing up as well, don't they? As soon as it's the 12th hour.
Yes, and I was actually emotionless. My wife waited at the finish for me. So when you go through there, they take you towards the left and you go through a lane there. You don't get a medal, but you've done the distance. And my wife just stood there and she just looked at me, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to, if I must cry or must I laugh or whatever. But as I said, it's just, I didn't know what to think.
But what makes ultra running so special? Martin Lopez, Menna Evans, Benjamin Davies and Brendon Rendall summed it all up pretty well.
I said to him, well, I said it about a year ago now, but I've never ever been so happy, so fulfilled. And I think it's a number of reasons. So when you're running, you obviously get so much time to think, and it's like it's such a cliche, but I mean in the sense of like relaxing your mind by I don't know, thinking. I suppose when you're busy, you look for distraction away from the things that you don't want to think about. So, you know, the stress of this or the stress of that. Whereas running, there's no point in pushing it to the back of your mind because all you've got is time to think. And I think that's like a form of meditation in a way, in the sense that meditation is just turning your mind towards something that you're not comfortable with and sort of exploring it a little bit and seeing where that takes you. And I think running allows me to do that. It then has helped me feel better in my body. You know, I've lost, like I say, about 3 or 4 stone, which is, you know, it's not important from a, you know, aesthetically in terms of a health perspective, but it does feel good to know that you look better health-wise. Yeah, I mean, the reasons for running for me are like endless, and that's why I know that there's times, you know, where I've been like really enthusiastic about golf or about tennis or about, you know, whatever it is. But I think running is something that I will do right for the rest of my life because of how good it's made me feel and how happy I am, I suppose, and fulfilled as a person, really.
Mix it up. Don't just go out and do the same route every day, day in, day out. Do things that inspire you. Get out amongst the trees, into your local woodlands, in the parks, get off the road, mix it all up, because trail running actually, will make you a stronger runner. I always say that less as well, and it just mixes up the different muscle groups, so you're not pounding on the same joints, etc. Get out and look on social media. There are so many people out there doing some incredible things right now, so try and get some sort of inspiration in that way. And just keep focused, stay determined, fix on that race that you think that you want to have a go at doing, and go for it.
Don't look at Strava, don't look at anything like that, don't look at anyone telling that you have to run at a certain pace. Just lace your shoes up and go for a little walk, and then have a little jog in between, and but just look around you, because most of the things that we miss, even just simple things like in everyday life that we take for granted, or we don't even notice anymore, just how many different animals are around us all the time. And like this time of year is incredible, like the little baby ducks and everything that are out on the canals, or the young animals and stuff that are about. It's just amazing to see. The life that's around you all the time is just incredible. But to just go out and don't focus on any paces or times. If you're starting to struggle, just have a little walk. Like, it's all better than sitting on the sofa or sitting there looking at other people doing, and a week's gone, another month's gone, and you still haven't done it. Just go and enjoy it, and just do whatever feels right for you. Nothing ever feels hard, like mentally hard. Nothing's ever a chore. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be able to go out and run.
I think it's just been a really exciting domino effect of feeling good, feeling focused. It helped me clear all my debts. It made me, inspired me to go to Malawi, like I was saying, travel. So it's just been a positive kind of mindset.
So that was Running Tales' look into the world of ultra running. We'll be back soon with one of our normal episodes, a conversation with an everyday runner who's achieved extraordinary things. If you want to catch up with any of the stories of those people featured in today's Ultra podcast, you can listen to their individual stories on our archive. Just go to www.runningtales.podbean.com and search for the name of the runner you're looking for. Or you can go on all good podcast providers, including Apple, to find them as well. Thanks very much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon.